Now, if you absolutely ever have to take these apart, and you don't want to send it to me for some reason, or you can't get a hold of me, or, you know, who knows, whatever else will happen. This is just basically, I'm only doing this, you know, under the most dire circumstances, and because you need to know this. And I guess I wouldn't feel right not telling everybody, because, you know, you never know what somebody might want to do, and I don't want them to ruin things trying to take something apart. So to get the chip out, what you would do on these are the ones that are serial numbered. The first batch weren't. I mean, they were internally, but you can't see them. And you'll see these pieces of tape in different spots. They're all just covering the serial number. I just covered them. Anyway, what you would do is, first you have to pop this pin out. And what you need is one of these. It's a center punch. Now, these are the kind that have a tiny little nib on the end. They're for spring pins. And these are better because they stay centered for doing this. And the ones that are serial numbered visually are, it's a 1/16 of an inch, because it's got a 1/16 of an inch spring pin in them. The ones that weren't were a 3/32. So you need a 3/32 one of these. On the ones that are numbered, it's a 1/16. Okay. So anyway, what you do is, you'll see there's a little tiny hole here, and you put that in there, and then you hammer it down through until the pin falls off. It'll fall down inside the cavity here. And then what you do is take something like, I don't know, something like this or whatever, something metal that fits down in these edges, put it across, they're tight, and turn it counterclockwise just like a normal screw, and you turn it all the way out, and then, you know, of course there's a wire connected to it. And then what you do then is, you know, you take a pair of needle nose or something, and you screw this counterclockwise, of course, and then, you know, the wire will fall out. Okay, so then that part's completely loose. Then what you do is, now you need to hold this part tight up against it, or get something like, now this is how I assemble them, because they're pressed fit in, and I clamp it, and then I drive the pins down in, because they're press fit. So, you know, you can either use something like this to hold the chip plate. Now, mind you, when you're clamping around it, clamp around the center. You don't want to clamp it on the buttons, you'll screw them all up. But anyway, so you do that, and then what you do is you drive the pin down, drive this pin down, you know, hammer it down until it stops, and then you'd do the same thing on the bottom. You hammer it down in until it comes loose, because on these, see how they fit? You're actually hammering them in, and then once they're loose, they fall into these pockets, and then they just would rattle around in there. And then what you'd need to do, because these are probably tight, they may or may not come out easy, because you won't really have a good place to grab it. You'd push the wire down through, just push it down through there, and then I use this. Now, this is just an Allen key with some tape around it. And the only reason there's tape around it is so it doesn't screw up these threads. And what you do is just fish it down in there, and then you're just basically using it to pry the chip out, or pry the plate out. Make sure, you know, you're mindful of where you put this. It's you don't want to put it on the chip. You can probably use a screwdriver or anything. I mean, probably pushing on the edge of this switch, that's probably the best bet, because that's a solid spot. Don't get it down here, you know what I mean? Just to pry it out, and then it'll just pop out. It'll just come out, and then of course we'll have wires hooked to it. Now, once you do that, now you've pounded this top pin down into there. So you're like, well, don't try to, I mean, obviously you're not going to have a pin now because it's stuck in here. Well, what you need to do, and you know, I get this is a long way around, is you can either unsolder it, which that's what I do. I just tap it, unsolder the leads off the switch, and then take this screw off here and push the switch through. And then what you do is you just drive the pin the rest of the way through, because the hole goes all the way through, but it's blocked by this switch barrel. And then your pin comes out, and then you're ready to put the switch back in and put it all back together. And when you put it all back together, obviously the top pin, you do the clamp thing and make sure you're lined up. Push your pin down in there, make sure it's loose, you know what I mean, so you know that the hole is perfectly lined up, using this thing here once you put the chip back in. And the same thing with the bottom, you know what I mean, run these down through. Now the top pin's pretty self-explanatory. You pound it in until it's flush right here, because it needs to be flush, because then it's grabbing this metal and it's grabbing a piece of the chip metal, or the chip plate metal. The bottom, on the other hand, is you only drive it in. See how I put this tape on theirs? Now this is measured out. It's 3/16 is what it's supposed to be. So I'm saying you want it 3/16 from the tape. So when you're pounding the bottom ones in, you only want to sink it 3/16, and then that's where they're because they go all the way through, but they're perfectly centered when you pound them in 3/16, and then you're done. So that's all for that, I guess.